I want to bring in California Congressman Darrell Issa right now. Congressman, what's your reaction to these executive actions calling for the construction of the border wall and Mexico fighting back? You also have the former president of Mexico, Vicente Fox, throwing around the F-bomb, saying we're not going to pay for that blank wall. How's it going to get paid for, Congressman? What do you think?
Well, I think we put it in perspective. First of all, during Vicente Fox's period as president, we didn't just have an immigration problem, although he called it migration. We had a huge drug increase because he didn't protect his borders. Drugs began to flow through Mexico and into the United States, including heroin, in record amounts. So his credibility is not good. Since that time, Mexico has cracked down on drugs, and they deport hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people from Guatemala and Honduras and other countries south. They, in fact, have effectively a wall where they catch and return huge amounts of people who are transiting to the United States. So when President Trump says we need cooperation, we need a wall, and we need good trade relations with Mexico, it is an opportunity for Mexico to realize that that wall isn't to stop Mexicans doing business, but it does help with Guatemalan, Hondurans, and others who transit all the way at the risk of life through Mexico to get in line legally and not continue this illegal immigration that has been going on for decades.
Right. No, I understand that, and we all, you know, are watching this and applaud the focus on this. But who's going to pay for it? I mean, I know that the president is now, and you all are talking about redoing NAFTA. Is that what you're thinking, that you redo NAFTA in a way that, you know, adds to the bill, the wall?
Well, I'll go out on a limb as just one congressman and tell you the wall or fences, as we have in San Diego, in my home area, pay for themselves in better security, reduced crime, and a better ability for the Border Patrol to do their job. So I believe there's a pay for in enforcing your borders. And by the way, as President Trump said while he was a candidate, also having the doors open so that we can have a constructive dialogue on legal guest worker programs and on legal immigration.
Congressman Issa, James Freeman here from the Wall Street Journal. Obviously, Trump is about the art of the deal. Are you worried there? Is there a danger that he drives too hard a bargain with the current president of Mexico, who I think we can all agree could be a lot worse, has been better on rule of law, opening up their markets? But if you humiliate him, if you make him look bad in his country, don't we run the risk that we get a left-wing government down there? And then if they're, I mean, I know this is worst-case scenario, but if it's more of a socialist paradise, then you really have people wanting to come north, right?
Well, I think it's important that we look at foreign affairs from a positive attitude of promoting governments doing their job and, in fact, serving their people. Look, this country has made mistakes in the past. We supported Marcos in the Philippines as he looted his country for decades under presidents of both parties. So we could go around the world and talk about our foreign policy. I think the important thing is this president campaigned on enforcing the borders. He is now beginning to do that. But in my own sector, where we're seeing new U.S. attorneys appointed who will send a strong message to coyotes that as they traffic in human beings and drugs, as they endanger lives, there's going to be a higher price to pay. So at least as one member of the Judiciary Committee of Congress, I want to see the enforcement and immigration reform that finds a front door open and a back door closed. And if part of it is the rhetoric of build the wall and the actual functional building of these fences along our border, I don't want to say it's cheap, but when you talk basically $8, $9, $10 billion in a $4 trillion government spending, it really is a small portion of the budget if it allows us to perhaps save on Medicaid, on criminal incarceration, and on other areas that very clearly are costing society, federal and state, huge amounts of money.
Yeah.
Congressman Issa, it's Dagan McDowell. In terms of withholding federal funds from sanctuary cities, being on the Judiciary Committee, the Wall Street Journal editorial page does point out that the Constitution bars the federal government from commandeering or coercing states or cities. So how do you marry those two?
Dagan, you're just young enough. You may not remember when they basically said we're not going to build your highways unless you force seatbelts to be worn in your states.
I remember
we're not going to build your highway. No, you're not, sweetheart. You are very, very young. And you will always be young as long as I want to be on the show. Trust me. But. You know, not me, but the government, we also forced helmet laws and, or at least tried to for a long period of time on motorcycles. We, the federal government, have used far greater coercement than the following. Every state in the union will continue to be considered for grants and funding. Most of that grant and funding going to helping them with gangs, with crimes, with things that very often are linked to certain people coming in with criminal networks from other countries. But if we prefer San Diego over San Francisco because the sheriff, Sheriff Gore in San Diego, has a cooperative program with ICE, his jails do try to ensure that criminal aliens sitting in his jails don't get released if they can possibly be sent back out of the country. That cooperation is what the people of every city really want. Everyone who says sanctuary doesn't mean sanctuary for criminals, murderers, and the like, and that's where the line has to be drawn. And I look forward to working with the president on drawing the line that gets criminal aliens out of our country.
Congressman, real quick before you go, are you expecting Judge Gorsuch to be the president's pick for the Supreme Court seat next week?
I do. I do believe that highly qualified, although it's not my Judiciary Committee, it's the Senate that's going to go through it. This is not a controversial appointment. This is an appointment of a mainstream conservative, young with a good record. So I expect it to go forward. I'm very concerned, of course, that the vacancies in California, including the Ninth Circuit, where we have 4 alone, they need to be filled quickly, and that's where the hunt for qualified prosecutors and judges and the like is going to have to be intense. And I just would encourage people to make sure their names are in the hat.
Yeah.
We need a lot of good judges around the country to fill vacancies.
Congressman, always a pleasure. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Darrell Issa there.